Welcome back to another episode of Taking Our Power Back, where we learn how to radiate confidence from the inside out. I'm your host, Alexa. I am an Afro-Latina living in New York City with my puppy, Ethan. I'm adding this segment to every episode so that we know each other. So what is my highlight of the week? My highlight is eating some Dominican food because my mom was in town. Yay! It's so hard. Like it's impossible to get good Dominican food in Manhattan, where I live. So when my mom's in town and I get some good home cooking, it's so good for my soul. What is my NYC highlight week? New Yorkers don't typically speak to each other. It's a very like go, go, go type of city. But now that I have a puppy, I have been socializing more as I walk him, and I actually made 2 contacts this week, and it's all thanks to Ether. What's my emotion of the week? This week I suffered from some writer's block, resentment, and isolation triggers. Block is I really had to be intentional about being creative, so I did some EFT tapping and meditation around creativity, and then with isolation triggers, like I was feeling very like unsafe around people, and I kept craving like just being at home. And so I don't know if anyone else is with me, but like home just like a safe space, which it usually does, but I'm an extrovert, so like that was. What's something that I learned this week? I learned that I can use ChatGPT to analyze my social media data. I just love YouTube, and I follow the Thrive Network, and they have an episode about how to use AI for social media. So I pulled all my data from YouTube, I put it into ChatGPT, I paid for a 4.0 version, and it analyzed my data and it told me recommendations for what to do going forward. So that was like really cool. Of course, I definitely recommend to try it out. What's something that helped me this week? Honestly, going back to the basics, re-listen to The Game of Life and How to Play It. I will put it right here. This book, the teachings are so simple and they resonate with what I'm going to speak about today. The author is a metaphysical author, and she explains how to control your thoughts and pray for things versus praying against them, which we don't learn how to communicate this way. So I definitely recommend that. Today I want to share a personal story that shaped my journey and helped me understand the power of manifestation and resilience. I grew up in an environment of scarcity. When I was 6 years old, my dad was arrested and deported to the Dominican Republic. So overnight, my mom became a single mom of 3 children. Suddenly, we relied on welfare for everything financial, and words like expensive, we can't afford it, there's no money for that were our daily vocabulary until my early 20s. Despite the negativity around me, I was an ambitious and dreamy kid. I found my escape in the library, devouring books, flipping through magazines, and daydreaming about outside of the Bronx while listening to music. These small acts unknowingly groomed my unconscious mind to feel confident about leaving the Bronx. Looking back, I now know that I was manifesting a reality outside of the Bronx unknowingly. Growing up in the Bronx, my dream was always to move out of Manhattan. But everyone around me thought I was so silly. Like they thought I was a dreamer, and I was dreaming. But I had not even like vocal support. Everyone thought I was crazy, and they put my dream down, and they need confidence in me that I would do this. And that is because where I grew up in the Bronx, there's a huge scarcity mentality. There's never enough of anything. Everyone is fighting for the bare minimum, and it's just like a dog-eat-dog environment, and you can feel it in the air. There is no feeling of abundance. There's just like who can take what from who's eating. You have to hide like your resources, and it's definitely contagious. So thank goodness for the library, because I was able to escape the reality of what's happening outside. My mom was strict, so thankfully for her and for me, I wasn't allowed to be around that so much, but I still felt it whenever I walked through the neighborhood. I'm a very empathic person, so as a kid I knew what was going on, and I did not want to be there for long. Like, I knew and I felt confident that I would. Dreams of moving to Manhattan were seen as outrageous and silly. My stubbornness was honestly my ally. And I was motivated to prove everyone wrong, even myself. Because deep inside, I felt like an imposter. So I was also battling with myself internally. Like, can I do this? Am I just dreaming? And other people were kind of validating that imposter syndrome. Like, oh my God, are you right? Like, I'm gonna be in the Bronx forever. I'm gonna be so miserable. So not everyone has my personality, and I know my circumstances are unique. But there are tangible lessons in my story that anyone can use when striving to change their environment. And I got you. From my experience, I learned that disliking your environment can be a powerful motivator for discipline and action, which are the two things that people don't have it together. Usually people have like motivation, but they don't have discipline. So sometimes you can use like your dislike for a place to motivate you to want to do better. Like if you don't like your job, you don't like where you live, you don't like your relationship, you don't like how much money you're making, like sometimes that anger can fuel you, and you use it to motivate yourself and to discipline yourself. For me, it was so painful to realize no one was coming to save me. As like a teenage girl, so hopeless, especially because I didn't have my dad. But I had a clear vision of where I wanted to go and where I didn't want to be. And I was willing to do the work to get there. Now looking back, I realized what I was doing was I was focusing on where I wanted to be. Instead, I'm focusing on where I didn't want to be, which now that I have read about manifestation, I know I was focusing on the end result. And I think this is something that many people struggle with. I still struggle with it myself, but because I was a teenager and I knew like, okay, I'm gonna live with my mom until a certain age. I need to have a plan or else I'm screwed. And that really helped me focus on the end result. But I think now when you're an adult and things are not so dire, we tend to focus on what we don't like instead of what we do. Now I'm gonna go into some information about an author named Neville Goddard. He's also a metaphysical author from the 1920s. Hit it. So let me put you on to this man right here named Neville Goddard. He is an author from the 1920s, and he specialized in mystical and spirituality, where he gave lectures on the power of relaxing your mind so that you can manifest more abundance in your life. And the reason this is relevant to my video is because when you are stressed, you cannot hop out of the lack mentality driver's seat. So first step is to work on your mindset so that your subconscious mind doesn't keep repeating the life cycles that you don't want to see. And he has beautiful quotes about how to be the God over your life, and it starts by being the God over your thoughts. So remember, in your journey to self-discovery, an inner peace starts right here, right now. We're going to do this together. So, the best part of the video, takeaways of how you can start implementing these changes. So, these are 3 tips I recommend that you can start doing right now to get out of your scarcity mindset and start thinking in an abundant. As an adult, I continue to work on my abundant mindset. Right? So our childhood experiences shape us deeply. It takes more than a couple of hours to rewire our unconscious mind. To dive deeper, I want to share some insights by Michael Easter's book, Scarcity Brain. He provides several research-based tips for overcoming a scarcity mindset. This is a quote from his book. One reason we like escaping into a scarcity loop is that there is no uncomfortable, anxious-inducing uncertainty in it. One reason we like escaping into the scarcity loop is that there is no uncomfortable, anxiety-inducing uncertainty in it. Which makes sense because, again, if you were programmed because you grew up in a scarcity environment to think that there is never enough money, to change that, you will have to heal and go to therapy and read new books and really make an effort to rewire your brain, which can cause anxiety because it's the unknown, versus you can stay the same and never change and stay in that scarcity loop, which I think is the most comfortable option, and majority of people tend to choose. And one of my quotes is, "It's easier not to change," by me. Here come the tips. The first one: detect hidden scarcity cues. Michael Easter recommends to analyze your habits and identify which habits give you scarcity cues. So to implement detecting your hidden scarcity cues, therapy can be a great first step to reflect on past conditioning and identify what triggers your scarcity mindset. For example, when I first moved out of the Bronx, my natural financial habit was when I got paid, I would automatically spend the whole amount. I didn't ever learn how to invest or save because no one around me ever had like extra money to do that. Like saving, investing always sounded like something like only the super rich did. I know, so bad. So those are the type of cue it is, and that's a hidden scarcity cue that you need to analyze and rewire. Another recommendation from the book is to embrace solitude. For me, socializing can be expensive. Like just meeting one friend for dinner in New York City will cost me $60 to $100, and my friends and I have to be very intentional of like costly ways to like get together. So that's within solitude is recommended, but also solitude is recommended to reflect on yourself. Michael Easter recommends periods of solitude to increase self-awareness and contentment of being alone, shifting your focus from external validation to internal validation. We'll add in there meditating while you're in solitude to really build that self-love so that you don't need anything to make you happy besides yourself. So this is a suggestion. Number 3 is a suggestion from me. So I recommend the third tip that I recommend is to reduce your stress. So managing money can be stressful, especially if you grew up in a scarcity environment where money was always in lack, which might make you either a hoarder or overspender. Both extremes are unhealthy. First, work on your stress levels by incorporating habits like talk therapy, ice baths, yoga, running into your lifestyle to release that stress from your body. Educate yourself on financial literacy so you have more confidence and less stress when it comes to your finances. Develop a daily gratitude practice so that you can start feeling gratitude towards the money that you do have instead of focusing on the money that you don't have, because you worked hard for that money. It's better to be grateful, telling the universe and God, like, I am grateful for the $20 in this bank account. That will help you manifest more money versus waking up every single day and angry that you only have $20. Like, think about it. Which one sounds better? I think you should be grateful for the $20 in your bank account. Check your bank account. Check your bank account. I know some of you haven't looked at your balance. Look. That is your money. You should feel empowered looking at your finances. Sit down and do a finance check with yourself. Write down all of the balances that you have on credit cards, student loans, checking accounts, or your Roth, your 401k, your life savings. Analyze everything and put it into a data sheet. That is the best form of self-love that you can give yourself. I highly recommend it. Believe me, I've been there where you don't want to check your bank account. I know, I've been there. I've been there multiple times, guys. I grew up in the Bronx. Like, overdraft fees is normal to me, and I really had to be intentional, like owning my money, empowered when I look at my checking account. Making smart decisions about how you spend will give you more confidence when you look at your bank statements. I promise you. But don't avoid it. Okay, to wrap up, today we discussed overcoming a scarcity environment. We explored my journey of manifesting moving out of the Bronx. We learned from Michael Easter's insights and shared practical tips on daily habits to help shift toward an abundant mindset. So remember, do what you have to do today so you don't have to do what you don't want to do in the future. I know you've heard that quote before. I'll say it again. Remember, be willing to do what you have to do today so that you don't have to do what you don't want to do in the future. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to Taking Our Power Back. For this episode, please subscribe, rate, leave me a review, give me some constructive feedback. It really helps me become better, and honestly it also helps my imposter syndrome to have someone acknowledge, like, oh, you did a good job, but you could like tweak it a little bit here. I really enjoyed this part. Like, tell me which part you enjoyed. Tell me anything. And until next time, feel empowered, and we're going to heal together, okay?